Hey everyone, well this is a first today. I got to tell you something. You know, every time I go out and I do one of my events, there's always a number of questions that I'm asked right off the bat. Number one, where was Jimmy Hoffa buried? Believe it or not, all around the world I get that question. Number two, where's all my money? People want to know that. You may not get that answer today. And then number three, have I ever killed anybody? But the most important question I get, believe it or not, how do you make your grandmother's meatballs? You know, 3 or 4 years ago, I just started to order meatballs in a restaurant because prior to that, you couldn't get a good meatball in a restaurant. I don't care where you went, anywhere in the world, just couldn't get it. But in the last 3 or 4 years, I started ordering spaghetti and meatballs, which I never ordered in a restaurant. And I said, hey, you know what? The meatballs are getting pretty good. And since then, I've ordered meatballs in almost every Italian restaurant that I go to because I want to see if the meatballs are getting better, and they absolutely are. So as a result of that, I'm going to share my grandmother's recipe with you. Now, I will tell you this, I don't care what restaurant you go to, this is going to match any one of them, probably a little bit better. How do you beat grandma's meatballs, right? Terrific. And you know, I'll never forget such good times just sitting around in my grandmother's kitchen and watching her make her meatballs. That's how I learned. And watching her make ravioli, something that, you know, you make them from scratch. It's just such a great recipe. So I have actually 2 secrets. Maybe another day you'll get the ravioli. Today, the meatballs only. But we're going to make them from scratch. And there's 2 ingredients that are extremely important. 2 ingredients. Now, you're going to say, what are they? The cheese and the garlic. That's it. And then there's another secret I'm going to show you. And pay attention, please, and don't do any variations from this. Make it exactly how it is, and I guarantee you're going to like it. First, let me wash my hands and get ready. Because we do it the old-fashioned way. You know what? People put gloves on and all that. We old Italians, we don't do that. I might be giving away my age at 74 years old, but hey, that's how it is. My hands are clean. Don't worry about it. Nobody's going to get sick. Here we go. So first, obviously, we take some ground beef. Okay, got to have beef in the meatballs. And normally we have veal and pork. Today, unfortunately, we weren't able to get the veal. It's not, you know, it's not a must, but the pork, absolutely. So you got ground beef and pork, and you mix it all together, right? That's number one. Everybody knows that. That's pretty basic. Number 2, eggs. One thing you got to remember about meatballs, a lot of people use breadcrumbs. I never did before, but I'm going to tell you a little secret. And they use the breadcrumbs. It's not good because it makes the meatballs hard. You don't want the center of the meatballs hard. You want them moist. You want them soft. You want it to kind of just really feel good in your mouth. You're not biting into something hard, and that's what the breadcrumbs do. So, a couple of eggs. That helps a lot too, makes it a little bit moist. In this batch here, we're only making a few. Normally on Christmas Eve, for my whole family, my wife's family actually comes over, I make between 100 and 120 meatballs. And normally I'll hide about 10 of them so I can eat them later on the next day or so, because they're just as good, obviously. But today we're only going to make a few. I'm giving you the recipe. That's it. And I don't have a whole crowd here to eat. I will be taking some home. This is not my home kitchen, but it's working. So got a couple of eggs, 3 eggs. That helps to make it moist. And then, of course, we go with the cheese. Now, it's grated cheese, Parmesan, Romano, either one, whatever you prefer, but lots of cheese. That's important. That's what gives it the taste. A lot of people are going to put salt in there. I don't put salt. I don't use a lot of salt. Some people may disagree with that, but I'm not a guy for a lot of salt. You don't need it. The cheese actually gives you all the salt that you need. And then you can go with fresh garlic. But I like now this garlic that's in a jar. Works just as well. It's great. Mix that together. And then, of course, fresh parsley. Very, very important. I usually cut it up like this. You don't want too much of the stems in there, but get enough of it in there. It's good. You can use a scissor. It's better. Just grab the tops. A lot of fresh parsley. Important ingredient. This is a lot simpler than you think. Anybody can do it. All right, so this is one of the secrets that most people don't know. Instead of using breadcrumbs, and like I said, I'll use them, you know, scarcely in a minute, but it's Italian bread. That's it. Always got to have bread and meatballs. Warm it up, put some water in there, and then let it soak. That's it. Put the bread in here. And we'll let it sit for a minute. Just get all the air out of it. Perfect. That's one of the secrets. Now, you know, what else I'm going to do here today is I've had so many questions from people that follow me on YouTube and on all the social media platforms. So while we're waiting for this, it's going to take some time. I'm going to have myself a glass of wine. As you can see, I have all my fruit wines here, which, by the way, are killing it. Have to say this. You've never seen anything like this before. Not only the wine's great, but people are taking these bottles home and they're sending me photos of flowers that they're putting in it, candles that they're making out of it. So not only are they enjoying the wine, but they're loving the bottles. So my favorite right now has been the blackberry, but today I had just tried the strawberry and I think I'm gonna indulge again. Look at that, beautiful. So let me have a glass while we're waiting. And we're gonna answer some questions. So if you have any right now, you wanna bombard me with them, go right ahead. My friends, I gotta tell you, if you would have told me 20 years ago that I'd be in front of a camera, making meatballs, drinking a glass of wine, and answering questions, I would have said you're crazy. It's amazing how life goes at times. Anyway, these fruit wines are great. I'm gonna try the strawberry. We have bartenders now making all sorts of different types of drinks out of this. Look at the color. Beautiful. That's a big glass, but it's okay. I'm going to enjoy this. Let it sit for a minute. So let me start with some of the questions that I have. All right. How did you actually get into YouTube, and why did you upload when did you upload and why did you upload your first video? Honestly, people, I had no desire whatsoever to be on YouTube, didn't want to do it. It was actually during the pandemic. I had, I think, about 45 speaking dates that were postponed because of the pandemic. And my team at the time came to me and said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to do nothing. I said, I haven't been home like this in 30 years because I've been speaking for quite some time. I said, I'm just going to relax and enjoy being at home with my wife and my family. And they said, no, you can't do that, Michael. You got to be out in front of people. And I said, well, where are we going to go? We can't go anywhere. It was nice. Anyway, it was the summer of 2020, and they kept pounding me on it. And I kept saying no, but finally I relented. And I think it was in August of 2020 that we did our first video. And I have to say this, thanks to all of you, it just really blew up quick. I think within 6 weeks, we had over 100,000 subs. And so I said, wow, we really have something here. Man, this meat is cold. We really have something here, so I'm going to keep going. And we built the channel over the past 5 years. I know for those of you that are following me, we're approaching, probably in the next couple of months, we'll be at 2 million subs. We've had close to 500 million views, and it's been very successful. And, you know, I'm thankful to all of you that continue to watch me. And so we're doing something different. You know, people are into food. I mean, all of these food networks that I see, you know, people are really enjoying it. So again, my team came to me and said, Michael, you have to share your meatball secret. And I said, I'm not going to do that. They've been asking me to do this for a year. But finally, I gave up. Like I said, cheese. Got to have a lot of cheese. You can't overdo the cheese, I can tell you that. And the same with the garlic. So if you're paying attention now, we got both ground beef, we got ground pork, we got 3 eggs actually. We got cheese, garlic, and some great parsley. Fresh parsley always. All right, pretty soon we'll add the bread and we'll be ready to go. So, all right, another question. What are my favorite songs? Well, this is gonna sound kind of crazy. My favorite all-time guy is obviously Sinatra. Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis, Dean Martin. You know, I think I love those guys because they bring back such great memories, not only of my time in that life. You know, I got to tell you, people, we had a lot of rough times. We had a lot of good times, too. I had a lot of good friends in that life, and we shared a lot of good times together. And the music always brings me back. You know, I'll never forget, I think it was 1998. I was at home. I'd gotten home from prison just, you know, a couple of years earlier. And I was home, it was in the morning, and it was that morning that I heard that Frank Sinatra had passed away. And it was almost like that was the finality of the moment for me. Like, my former life is really over, because we identified so much with Frank Sinatra. I met him so many times at the Copacabana with my dad, later on with Joe Colombo at the Italian American Civil Rights League. And I've seen him so many times. And when he died, it's like the era is really gone. That's it. It's over. So I really identified with those guys. But I have to tell you this. One of my favorite times, I mean, I love the disco era. I think everybody that was around during that time is probably the greatest time, you know, at least in the last 100 years. But one of my favorite groups ever, and I'm very excited about this, is the Backstreet Boys. And they're actually coming to the Sphere in Vegas, and I'm going to go there just before New Year's this year. Isn't that crazy? Okay, a former mob guy liking the Backstreet Boys, but I do. Their music was great, and they're at the Sphere, and I can't wait to see them. A little more cheese, like I said, can't have enough for cheese, not a big deal. Just keep putting it on. I think we need a little bit more parsley. All right, looking good so far. Okay, who is more powerful, Tony Accardo or Carlo Gambino? You know, that's a close call, but understand this, that New York was really the hub for Mafia Cosa Nostra in this country. And in New York, we had 5 families. We had the most guys there. And Carlo Gambino, without a doubt, was the most important guy and the most powerful guy in that era. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Tony Accardo, but that was one family there. And he ruled for quite some time, well over 20, 25 years. Got to give him credit for that. But really, the power was in New York. So I would have to say, I'd give Carlo the edge on that, for sure. But again, taking nothing away from Tony Accardo. Okay, now, let me wipe my hands a little bit, see how the bread is doing. All right, doing good. Got to get all the water out of it, because all we want is this nice moist bread to mix in. Just drain it all out. All right, so now that we have the bread, you can see it's very moist, obviously. And this is what makes the difference. Trust me, people. Put it in, mix it all together. Doesn't look very appetizing, but trust me, it is once you get a taste of it. All right, this is a good question. I know we got this from the Sopranos somewhere. Do you like gabagool? Well, I'll tell you this, I grew up on it. You know what that is? It's kind of a cured meat. And it's actually capicola is what you call it. But the Sopranos made it famous by calling it gabagool. And we had guys that were actually nicknamed gabagool. Wasn't a compliment, let me tell you that. But anyway, I don't eat it anymore. I'm a little bit more health conscious. I don't really eat any processed foods. But if I were to choose one, it would be gabagool. I like it very much at the time. Okay, so now we have all this mixed together. What was the kick-up percentage to the boss? Was it always 10%? I wish it was 10%. No, it was more than that. It was kind of the rule of thumb, and I'll tell you how I got to this point. You know, when I was a recruit, before I took my oath, before I was a made man, somebody had come to me with a load of meat. They had a load of meat, you know, that they hijacked from someone. And they brought it to me, and I went to my boss at the time, Andrew Russo, I can tell you his name, and I said, Andrew, I got a load of meat. I said, I'm going to sell it, and then what do you want me to do at that point? He said, well, bring me all the money. I said, okay. So we sold it. I think we sold it for about $8,000, if I remember. And I brought it to him, and I gave him the $8,000, and he said, okay, I'll get back to you, right? So he gets back to me after a couple of days, and he gives me $600. And I don't want to question him. He was my captain. I didn't want to say anything at that point. But $600,000, I gave $600. I gave him $8,000. So my father was away at that time. He was in Leavenworth. And I went to see him, and I told him what happened. I said, Dad, I bring them $8,000. They give me $600 back. I said, what is this? He said, no, you made a mistake. He said, you don't ever tell them in advance. He said, you do the score, and then you bring it in, and you give them 25%. Anything that happens on the street, 25%, that's it. If it's an illegal thing, if it's legit, you don't have to give them anything. So it taught me a lesson. So the formula is anything that we did on the street, they got 25% that kicked up to the boss. That was it. But I learned the hard way, I can tell you that. All right, now, I never used to use breadcrumbs, but I'm gonna use this now, and I'll tell you why. Because most people only use breadcrumbs. They don't use the bread like I just showed you. They only use breadcrumbs. And that's what makes the center of the meatball hard, and you don't want that. But for a little bit of flavor, these are Italian breadcrumbs, for a little bit of flavor and to hold them together a little bit more, I don't mind using just a little bit, not a lot. And I started doing that recently and it paid off. Good taste and it works. So, almost done here mixing everything together. It's looking good. Now I can tell you this, you can taste this raw and it tastes almost the same as the meatball after it's cooked, believe it or not. Now, I don't suggest you eating it raw, but you can tell right away how it tastes. All right, Chinese food or Italian food? Come on, who would even ask me something like that? Italian, let me tell you something, prepared well, there's no better food on the face of the planet than Italian food. I have to say that. Now, some people are gonna get mad. That's not to say I don't like other food. I love Chinese food. Growing up, it was really our second go-to food. My dad, if we didn't go for Italian, we went for Chinese. He loved Chinese, and he got us all into loving Chinese. So Chinese food is great, but Italian is number one. Recently, I got to love a Mexican food. You know, I married a Mexican girl. When I was back in New York, I never ate Mexican food because we didn't have any Mexican restaurants. Now you got them every place. But back then, no. But Mexican food is great, but you can't beat good Italian food. Notice I'm putting more cheese. Can't put enough of cheese. So, but yeah, Italian is number one. And let me tell you, you know, I've said this quite often lately, that with all of these celebrity chefs over the past 10 years or so, Italian restaurants in general have really raised their standard in preparing their foods. I've been to so many restaurants across the country that you wouldn't think were going to be good, went in there, had a great meal. And I really do think it's the celebrity chefs that have raised the standard of cooking all over the country, probably all over the world. All right, I got a really deep, important question here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna wash my hands, take a sip of that wine, and then answer this question. It's a deep one, and it's a good one. As a matter of fact, I'm surprised that it came in. I don't know who asked that, but it's a very good question. All right, so I want a glass of my strawberry. Look at how beautiful that is. Honestly, clear, beautiful. It's becoming one of my favorites. I really love the blackberry wine, but the strawberry is great too. Pomegranate, people are loving it. It was the first fruit wine that we introduced. I'm not high on pomegranates. It tastes good, but my preference, strawberry or the blackberry. Haven't tried the cherry yet, but maybe I'll have a little bit of glass of that when we're cooking the meatballs. How's that? All right, now here's a heavy question. How many men have you made when I was a capo regime, a captain, which I was appointed to that position in 1980? How many men have you made? Well, let me tell you this story. I had all my guys together. I had about 15 guys that were really under me, and I had them all together at one point. And I sat them down and I said, guys, listen, if any one of you want to get made, this is not the place for you. I'm not going to make any one of you. And they said, why? I said, very simple, because once I make you, I lose you. I'm going to train you, I'm going to work with you, I'm going to put all my effort into you to make you the best possible guy you can be. And then I get you made and I lose you. You don't answer to me anymore. They could put you in another captain, you can be anywhere else. So why would I put all that effort into you and lose you? So if you want to get made, no hard feelings, not at all. I said, I'll give you a good reference, good recommendation, go wherever you want to go, but it's not going to happen here. But hold on. Now, if you want to make money, then this is the place to be. I'm going to make you all wealthy, every single one of you. So you make your choice, whatever you want to be. And not one guy left. And they all became wealthy, every single one of them. You know the deal with the gas scam and all that we did. And I learned something, people. You make people make money, you share the wealth, you have a lot of loyalty in that way. It may not be true loyalty in the end, and I can tell you that for a fact it wasn't, because some of my guys turned on me when it was beneficial to them, and when they were escaping, a lighter jail sentence. But during that time, they were very loyal because they made a lot of money with me. So it shows you, money rules. Okay, back to the job. Let me get another taste of this wine. And I have to tell you this, you're not going to get these fruit wines anywhere else, and you're certainly not going to get them in these beautiful bottles. The women are loving it. Aside from enjoying the wine, like I said, they're making flower vases out of it, and they're putting candles in it, and they're showing me pictures. Really cool. So it's really great. For the holidays too, beyond the holidays, whatever, gotta have it. Okay, we're getting close. All right, now we do the rest of the work, and that is make meatballs out of them. Most people now today, they'll tell you they want to bake the meatballs. To me, they gotta be fried. If you're baking them, you're killing some of the taste, and I know there are people out there that disagree with me, but trust me on this, you gotta fry them. Meatballs need to be fried. And I'm a healthy guy. I'm very health conscious, as you can see, but you can't always sacrifice taste. And while we're speaking about health, for all you health conscious people, and I hope many of you are, our fruit wines are made actually from the fruit. They're actually more healthy than juices that you'll drink, because they put all that stuff in juice. They don't do that in our fruit wines. Very organic. All right. All right, let's get that oil nice and hot. And let's make some meatballs and answer another question. Did you do any business with Vor v. Zakon, Russian thief's in-law? Were they like Italians or different? I don't recall that name in particular. Vor v. Zakon, no, I don't recall that name in particular, but yes, I did do business with the Russians. They were my partners for almost 8 years in the gas business. I'm gonna tell you a quick story about that. There was 3 Russians that had a gas operation called Gas Stop in Brooklyn. They had a number of gas stations, and they came to me for some help. They couldn't collect some money. It wasn't a lot of money. It was about 7 or 8 grand. So they came to me and they said, Mr. Michael, this guy owes us money and we can't collect. And I said, only 7,000? I thought these guys were a little more powerful than that. Anyway, I collected the money from them, for them, and I said, what are you guys doing? And they told me, and they were actually trying to do what I was doing at that point, and that was, obviously, we created that scheme to defraud the government out of tax on every gallon of gasoline. As you see, these meatballs are made by hand. There's no tool or anything else. You make them by hand. And they wanted to get involved. So I said to them, listen, I can make you guys very wealthy, no question about it. They had about 10 stations. I said, you're gonna buy the gas from me off of my license, and I'm gonna save you a lot of money on the tax. I said, we're gonna go partners. They said, great. They said, what's the split? I said, 75% me, 25% you. So I'll never forget the one guy, his name was Mike Markowitz. He was kind of the leader. He looks at me and he says, Mr. Michael, that's not fair. 75% you, 25% us. I said, no, that's very fair. And they said, how? I said, very simple. We're on the street. You're gonna rob me a little bit. I said, this way I won't get that mad because I'm getting the lion's share. I said, but don't let me catch you. Don't do that. And so I'll never forget, he went to the back and he spoke to the other 2 guys, and he comes back and he goes, you got a deal. And he shakes my hand. So he knew right away what was going on. But I will tell you this, they were, at that time, some of the best partners I ever had. We made a tremendous amount of money together. They were very aggressive on the street. They worked hard. We went into a restaurant business together. We did a lot of other things. And for 7 or 8 years, they were great partners. I'll tell you what happened. Another sad part of that story was when I went away, when I was going to jail, I came to them and I told them, listen, this is how this is gonna go. You're gonna have to answer to some other guys right now. And I'll never forget, Mike says to me, no, Mr. Michael, we only deal with you. I said, no, it doesn't work that way. You're gonna have to deal with somebody else. I said, but they'll be okay with you. And I went to my guys at the time, a little disappointed because my father was one of them. And I said, listen, I've worked closely with these guys for almost 8 years. We made a tremendous amount of money. Every week they're gonna bring you money without fail. They don't miss. I said, but they're men. Don't treat them like punks. They're not punks. Treat them like men. What happened was I go to prison. Within 3 months, they blew the whole operation. They went after one of my, because they wouldn't be bullied. They went after them. They killed one guy, Mike Markowitz. The other guy, they shot him up. He was in a wheelchair, and they shot him up. Somehow he survived. And the best one, a guy that I had a lot of money with personally, David Bogerton, I can mention his name, he ran away. So within 3 months, the family destroyed an operation I ran for 8 years, and that's the truth. And yeah, I suffered for it because I was still getting money at the time, and then that ended. But that's the life, people. You know, there's a lot of guys don't handle things the right way, and you know, they approach things the wrong way, and this is what happens in that life. And then you blow everything. Sad. True story. When I say it, I get mad. All right, so that's it. The oil is nice and warm now, and now we're ready to cook. I can tell this is a good batch. They're always a good batch. Like I said, my wife's family, her dad was one of 23. And for years, we hosted them always, the whole family. We host them on, and my wife's one of 7. So we host the entire family on Thanksgiving and on Christmas Eve. Now, for all of you that are Italians out there, you know that normally on Christmas Eve, it's the night of fishes. We eat all seafood. But out here in California, it's different. They don't like the same kind of seafood that we like, so we didn't do that. So we made pasta, we made meatballs. I would make 100, 110 meatballs, and by the end of the night, I had to hide a few so that I could eat them the next day. They were gone. They loved them. Never tasted anything like it. So that's it. Let's see what they look like afterwards. Get to another question. Pizza or pasta? Well, I love pasta. Pasta is number one, obviously, but you know, I'm in the pizza business, so I love pizza. I think pizza is like the number one food in the world, if I'm not mistaken. So I love pizza if it's good. You know, if it's good, it's got to be good. If it's not good, I don't like it because there's now so many variations of pizza. I don't want to mention any of them that I don't like, but pasta. Pasta has to be prepared properly. When I grew up, it was always a meat sauce, and we didn't call it sauce, we called it gravy. Any Italian from my era, they'll tell you, it was never sauce, it was always gravy because it was thick and it was heavy and it was delicious. We had bresaola in there, we had meatballs, we had pork, we had beef, and we loved the beef. It was great. We loved the taste of the meats. But now, I'll never forget, I was probably about 20 years old, and my father came home and he says to my mom, he says, Tina, I discovered a new sauce. He said, it's terrific. It's called with prosciutto sauce. And it was a light sauce that my mother started to make, and it was just delicious. And that's when we started to call it sauce, when prosciutto was introduced into it. And now my wife, Camille, who happens to be a terrific cook, she makes a filet de pomodoro sauce and all these light sauces that we really like. I don't call it gravy anymore. But pasta, when it's made right, it's very hard to beat. I mean, there's so many delicious pastas, delicious variations. But so that's my go-to food. But of course, we love pizza. Everybody loves pizza. All right. When it comes to hot dogs, what are your favorite places? You can't beat New York hot dogs. Nathan's hot dogs, terrific. Sabret, all the corner stands that we used to have, terrific. There was a guy in Brooklyn. He had a hot dog stand right under the bridge. It was unbelievable, the Kosciuszko Bridge. It was right under there, near my house at the time. And he was there for 30 some odd years. And we used to go there and have hot dogs every day when we went from Brooklyn into Manhattan. And I'll never forget, I'd buy 2 hot dogs, I'd give him $100 just because he was there for so long. And you know what the secret taste of these hot dogs were? It may not sound good, but trust me, it's good. They never changed the water. Never changed the water. They added to the water, but they would never dump it out and put fresh water in there. So the water was like beef. It was almost like soup. But the taste of the hot dogs, you can't beat it. I don't care where you go, whatever. Between that, the hot dogs at the stand, and Nathan's hot dogs, absolutely the best. And you go to any one of these hot dog guys in the city, right? And you think, oh, these poor vendors. You know what they'll tell you? They take 2 months off or 3 months off in the summer and they go to Greece or they go to Italy That's how much money they make. So don't feel sorry for these guys. They're making plenty of money because who doesn't like hot dogs, right? Terrific. Okay. All right, this is a good one. Do you prefer double-breasted or single-breasted suits? I'm a single-breasted guy. Never really liked double-breasted suits. I don't know why. Single-breasted for me. But there's some that look sharp. I used to wear a vest with my single-breasted suit. Now, not too much, but single-breast, more classy. Wine is good. Okay, how realistic is The Sopranos? My classic answer is this. If a mob boss was ever visiting a psychiatrist, he'd be in the trunk of his car by the end of the week, along with the psychiatrist. You could never do that. Who knows what he'd be telling a psychiatrist? Immediately, that guy would go, okay? I don't want to get in trouble with any of this. All right, where's my utensils? Here they are. Okay, looking good. Now, you got to brown the meatballs, obviously. You got to turn them over so they cook in the middle. There we go. They don't get brown like this when you cook them in the oven. Some people say, Michael, you're wrong. I'm not wrong. I'm right. They don't get like this. Trust me. And olive oil has got such a great taste. I cook them only in olive oil. I don't use any kind of oil, any other kind of oil. All right, looking good. I tell you, people, there's nothing like a good meatball. My wife actually gets me, she says, why do you always order meatballs? And I said, I can't help it. It's part of who I am. Meatballs. I grew up on them, and I always like to see if the restaurant is doing it right. But like I said, maybe in the last 3 or 4 years, that's when meatballs really started to be prepared properly in all of these restaurants. Before that, I would never eat a meatball in a restaurant. I was spoiled. I'll tell you another thing. When I see a meatball perfectly round, I get a little suspicious. I mean, there are balls, but they gotta, if they're perfectly round, sometimes that means that they're using breadcrumbs. They're not really soft in the middle. These look great. All right, people, I know the holidays are coming up, and we have a special deal working on all 4 of our fruit wines. And like I said, people, they're in short supply, big demand. They're flying off the shelves. But you got to try it. You got to bring it home. You know what's happening with the wine business? Everybody is running to Italian wines and wines from Napa Valley. I want to tell you this, Napa Valley is not doing too well. You know why? Because wines like ours, Armenian wines with a story behind it, a great taste at a great price. People want to branch out and try something differently, and we're finding that out. Last year, we were in about 400 locations. This year, over 3,000, probably 5,000 by the end of the year. What does that tell you? Tells you that I'm a great salesman, of course, but not only that, but that the wine is really terrific. And I really mean that. No matter how good you sell something, if the product is not good, it's not going to last. But these are great, and I'm really, really proud of them. So many people have said, Michael, how come you're not selling Italian wines? Who isn't selling Italian wines, right? What's different there? And I love Italian wine, don't get me wrong, but this is special. And for the price, you can't beat it. Trust me. Not going to break the bank. You're going to love it. You're going to come back for more. Absolutely. I don't even have to threaten you on that. And let me tell you something. There is a little bit of a fallacy out there with people thinking that Georgia was the birthplace of wine. Not true. There's a lot of evidence out there. It's factual. When I talk about evidence, I know what I'm talking about. 5 trials, 7 indictments, and more parole hearings that you can imagine. I know evidence, and I've really researched this because I like to back up what I say. There's more evidence to show the birthplace of wine, Armenia. Great story. Noah's Ark. It lands. The flood subsides. Where does it land? The foot of Mount Ararat. For all of you that know this, we know the new civilization started when Noah's Ark landed at the foot of Mount Ararat. What did they do? They immediately went out and they planted grapes. This is the first vineyards. Factual, true, supported by evidence. It wasn't Georgia. It was Armenia. So you have wines from the world's first civilization, the first birthplace of wine. And of course, the story, what's the story behind it? Wine is transforming process, without a doubt. My story, transforming people. If it wasn't that God had a different plan and a purpose for my life, I wouldn't be making meatballs here today. Trust me, I'd be sitting in a prison or, God forbid, something worse. So that's the story. Try it. What do you got to lose? You're going to love it. Trust me. All right, let's check. A little bit more. Getting there. Wait till you see how these look. Now, I have to tell you this too. My grandmother used to make them. She used to chase us out of the kitchen while she was cooking them, because she knew if she turned her back, we're going to eat them before they even get into the pot of sauce, pot of gravy, I should say at that time. She'd chase us out. She'd have this wooden spoon. She'd bang us with the spoon. Get out of here. Because if she turned her back, she was done. They're so good outside of the gravy. We call it gravy at that time, or outside of the sauce now. They're so good. But then you put them in the sauce, just terrific. Can't beat it. All right, now I'm going to quiz you. Do you remember the ingredients? What do we have? What's the secret? Obviously, it's the bread, not breadcrumbs, the bread. That's what makes it moist in the center. Plenty of cheese. You can't over put the cheese in there. Trust me on that. Garlic, the cheese, the garlic, and the bread, those are really the three secrets of making a great meatball. All right, and then of course you got parsley, you got good ground beef. Don't use the 90% ground beef. Use the 80%. You want a little fat in there because the fat is what, gives you the taste. You gotta relax a little bit on this, health stuff. You don't want to sacrifice too much taste. Another 10% is not going to kill you with the fat. Trust me on that. Mix it all together, and you got a terrific meatball. And I guarantee you, you could eat the meat before you cook it. You could eat it, and you can get the taste. It tastes just as good. All right, I think we're ready. Let's try one. All right, great. You see what I mean? It's round, flattens out a little bit in there, of course. All right, let me taste it. Oh yeah, I could tell. See? You see how it's nice and moist in the center? Not hard, nice and moist. Oh boy. Every time, never miss. People, I can tell you this. I have about 7 of them in there. I could eat all 7. I guarantee you, you follow that recipe, you bring people to the house, they'll be coming back for more. Just make extra. They're going to want to eat them. Wash it down with a little bit of Franzese wine. This is an offer you shouldn't refuse, people. I'm not charging anything for this, trust me. You got a deal. So that's the secret. I've been asked for this for the last 20 years, and this is the first time I've revealed it. So the other questions, you may not get an answer. How many guys did I kill? You're gonna have to wait on that one. That's number one. Where's all my money? Someday people are gonna know where all my money is, I can tell you that. As I get a little bit older and I get a little less concerned about the government and what they can do to me, we may see some surprises here. And then where's Jimmy Hoffa buried? I can tell you this. They'll never find his body. That I know for sure. Now, I had nothing to do with it, but I've got some inside information. They will never find Jimmy Hoffa's body. Don't let anybody tell you different. With all these scam people that come up and he's in somebody's backyard and he's here, he's in, the Meadowlands. Not happening. They will never find his body, and don't ask me why. Let's go get the other meatballs. All right, now, for some of you, or most of you that may not remember what the recipe is, I want you right now to go to franzesewine.com, and the recipe is going to be posted there for you. Not only am I showing you live, I'm giving you the recipe. And the only thing I want you to do is tell everybody when you make it, this was Michael Franzese's grandmother's recipe, and he was nice enough to share it with all of us, and at the same time, buy a bottle of wine. Won't be cheap. All right. There we go. We got 4 more. Make some room. All right. All right, here's a good question. For those who are new to mafia or mob movies, what movie would you recommend to them? You know, I've said this consistently over the years, and actually made a good friend of the star of that movie because of it, that the most realistic mob movie ever made, in my opinion, was the 1996 movie entitled Gotti with Armand Assante and Anthony Quinn. Armand Assante was absolutely brilliant. Anthony Quinn, there was a scene in that movie where Anthony Quinn comes into John Gotti's social club or his bar, and he talks to him about how he had to save his life because Gotti had killed a made guy from another crew. And it was true. And it was so realistic the way Anthony Quinn, who played Neil Delacroix at that time, somebody I knew, it was so realistic the way he delivered his lines. It was so brilliantly done. It gave me the chills. Actually gave me the chills. Armand Assante was brilliant. Everybody was brilliant, but those two were just brilliant in that movie, and it was very realistic. They actually wrote a lot of the script from the surveillance tapes on Gotti at the time. Very realistic. Terrific movie. Now, of course, Goodfellas, great movie. Donnie Brasco, great movie. If you look for the #1 movie of all time, it would be Godfather 1 and 2. 3, they kind of lost it a bit. But 1 and 2, brilliant but fictional. But the closest to reality, 1996 Gotti, not the new Gotti with John Travolta. Don't even bother with that. It was the only film I know that got 0 Rotten Tomatoes. Got a 0, and it deserved it. But Goodfellas, Donnie Brasco, Casino, another great one. They're all good. I mean, if you haven't seen them, ladies, they're a little bit rough. So if you're not into that, my wife don't want to watch those movies. Neither do my daughters. But they were brilliantly done, all of them. When Scorsese does something, there's some of these great directors and these brilliant actors. Joe Pesci, I mean, come on, the guy is unbelievably lights up the screen anytime. De Niro, he's terrific. Pacino, come on, how do you beat these guys? Assante, terrific. So any one of those movies. All right, what's your favorite city in America, Canada, and Europe? You know, in America, my favorite city, gosh, I mean, I love New York. You gotta love Manhattan. It's got a special, just a special feeling to it, you know, and it's my hometown, so I love New York. It's kind of lost some of it lately with all the crazy leadership that we have going on there, but it's an amazing city. In Europe, I love London. But Italy, by far, is my favorite place. I love Florence. I love just so many cities in Italy. But all of Europe is so beautiful. You know, coming from the United States, when you go back and you see cities that are 2,000 years old, you see some of the architecture and everything is so beautiful about it, you know. Canada, I love Vancouver. You know, I've been there many times. It's a beautiful city, and I love it. So, you know, I got to tell you this, people. I have visited every city in America, and many of them multiple times over the past 30 years. I've spoken at over 2,000 events, most of them here in the States. I've met wonderful people everywhere I go. We have good people in this country. We really do. Good people that work hard, want to raise their families, don't like a lot of controversy. Good people. And I've been welcomed in every city, every single time that I've went. And that's all over the world. But, you know, sometimes we see things, you know, in the news and the media, and things get distorted. There are good people in this country. And that's why I hope the best for America, because people deserve it. You know, they work hard, they earn a living, they just try to do the right thing. They're just good people, and America's a beautiful, beautiful country. Don't forget that. All right, let me put this here. All right, we're almost done. A few more, and we killed it. There's more meatballs here than I thought we'd have. Again, you could try to bake them, but the little olive oil is not going to kill you. I'm telling you, if you want the right taste, that olive oil just finishes it off. Don't be afraid. And I'm a healthy guy. You know, I'm surrounded by health people. My wife, my daughters, they're personal trainers. They talk, everything is healthy. They eat vitamins every day. They watch everything that we eat. Sometimes it gets annoying. But even the wine, you know, they can't drink too much wine. I like wine. I grew up on wine, okay? I love it. When I was 10 years old, my grandfather would make it in the basement in Brooklyn. He'd bring it up, put it on the table. We couldn't say no. We had to drink it. It's healthy. It's good for your blood. It's good for your brain. I don't know if that's true or not, but Didn't kill me. I'm 74 years old. My father died at 103. And all he ever drank was wine. My father didn't drink anything but wine, nothing else. 103. How do you explain that? And so far at 74, I'm doing okay. So I'll keep drinking the wine. All right, now that I'm enjoying my meatball, where's the opener? I'm gonna taste the cherry wine. I haven't had it yet. I'm hearing that it's good. And you know what, people, I won't lie to you. If I don't like it, I would tell you, you know what, this one's not for me. Some of you are saying, yeah, right, Mike, you wouldn't do that. No, I would. If I didn't like it, I would tell you, this one's really not for me, but based upon the other wines that I've tasted, I'm gonna think that it's gonna be good. And you know, this is something I never thought I never heard of the fruit wines, honestly, until we introduced them. And obviously there's some other people doing it. They don't have the bottles that we have. Ours are great. But I never thought of fruit wines before because I only drank, you know, the wines that I was used to drinking. Okay. So that's it. That's our cherry wine. I can see the color. Look at the difference between the cherry and the strawberry. And you know, and that's how it is, really. Strawberries are lighter in texture and cherries are deep and dark and red. Smells good. Actually, very good. I'm pleasantly surprised. I like cherries. I'm not, you know, strawberries I love, but pleasantly surprised. It's very good. People, I gotta tell you, these fruit wines are a hit. I really mean it. They really are. I think it's gonna revolutionize the wine business because what can you bring in wine that's new? Think about it. Really not much. This is new, and they're good. I mean, if somebody comes to me with a wine from Italy, okay, great. I've had that all my life. Napa Valley, great. Same thing. France, I'm not big on French wines. I'll probably be in trouble next time I try to go to France, but they don't like us for that. But Italian wines I like. But what's new? The same wines, no doubt. And they're good, same wines. These are great, I have to say it. Pleasantly surprised, I like it. All right, we're finishing it up now. So people, this is another thing I never thought I'd be doing in my life. Number one, cooking online. And number two, sharing my meatball secret. But I guarantee you, you make this for your guests, make it for yourself, excuse me, your family, they will tell you that there's nothing better in any restaurant that they've ever tried, and that's for sure. And what more can you make with meatballs? The only thing, like I said, that was missing out of this, you don't really taste it too much, is the veal. Veal is hard to get. Chopped veal is hard to get. You're not going to get it everywhere. But if you can get it, pork, veal, and beef, mix them all together. They're great. You don't need the veal, but if you can get it, it better. It enhances the flavor just a little bit, but people won't miss it if they don't know about it. Trust me on that. So that's it. I mean, look, I'm going to share this with the family. We got some nice, a few left over here. I'm going to try not to eat them all, but I will have a few more. Very good. And that's it. Got a question here. This is a good one. When you were growing up, who was your hero outside of the family? Wow. You know, people, my dad was really my hero growing up. I think after that, Joe Colombo became my hero. When my dad went into prison, because he kind of took me under his wing and really helped me out a lot. You know, my dad was his underboss. And when Joe Colombo had started the Italian-American Civil Rights League, I looked at it as a way to help my father get out of prison. And Joey was very good to me back then. As a matter of fact, when we were picketing the FBI on 69th Street and 3rd Avenue, we were actually picketing the FBI. I was one of the first ones they called. And that line grew from, 50, 100 people to several thousand people. Well, I was the first one that got arrested off that line. I'll tell you the story quick. I was carrying a sign, and the sign said, "My father was a victim of FBI Gestapo tactics. He was framed and sentenced to 50 years in prison." There's a lot to put on a sign, but I had it, right? Well, the cops didn't like me for that. One day I'm walking across 3rd Avenue with my mother and my girlfriend at the time. And as I'm walking across, going back to the line, we went and got a cup of coffee. Some guy drove by in a car, a couple of guys in the car, and they yelled out, "Oh, you guineas," and, just saying some things that were not, nice for Italians. And I yelled back at the guy. And the cop came over to me and said, "Stop yelling." And I said, "Hey, why don't you get a hold of him? What are you talking to me like that for?" And he said something to me, one word led to another, and he pushed me, and I hauled off and I punched him. And I hit him in the mouth. Well, when I did that, he took out the billy club. A bunch of cops came on me. They started banging me. My mother was screaming. My girlfriend was screaming. And they grabbed a hold of me and they threw me in the paddy wagon, right? Joe Colombo was there. And he broke the line and told everybody on the line to surround the paddy wagon so they couldn't take me away. And for about 15 to 20 minutes, maybe even longer, they had me handcuffed in the wagon. Joe Colombo was talking to the cops. Finally, he came in and he said, "Hey, Mike, don't worry about it. They're going to take you down to the police station. They're going to book you." He said, "But I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it." So I go down there. They booked me and all that. My first arrest. And then Barry Slotnick, who was the big shot lawyer for the league, Joe Colombo's lawyer, he came to me and said, "Mike, don't worry about it. We're going to break this down to harassment. It won't even be a misdemeanor. We'll get it over. It'll be a violation." And that's what happened. So he got me out of it. I mean, hitting a cop, you're in trouble. That's an assault charge. But he got me out of it. And he got mad at me after that. He said, "You don't ever raise your hands to the police officer, Michael. He said, you got to be smarter than that." I said, "Joey, tempers were high, emotions were high back then." But he was like a second dad to me, and I really appreciated that. The horrible part of it was we had an Italian-American Civil Rights Day League rally. The second annual rally, we had over 50,000 people there at Columbus Circle. And we had a big stage set up. Sinatra, everybody was going to be there entertaining the people. The league had grown immensely. And Joey called me up on the stage. So I went up on the stage and he handed me some brochures. And he said to me, "Michael, go hand these out by Central Park." And he said, "And I want to tell you this." I said, "What, Joey?" He said, "This league is going to get your father out of prison." I said, "Wow." I got the chills. I was so happy. I turned around, I walked 12 steps away, and I hear boom, 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 shots fired, and all of a sudden, I turn around, I see Joey go down, and I hear Joey Jr. yell out, "Joey's been shot, Joey's been shot." And then a second round of shots because they killed the guy that shot Joey at that time. It was a devastating moment in my life. It was kind of very eye-opening to me to see somebody I love go down like that. It was actually the second time that I lost somebody that I really cared for in a tragic way like that. Another guy had gotten shot and brutally beaten up too. So it was kind of tough, but made an impression on me. But anyway, he was a guy that I really loved. He was my hero outside of my father. Who would you want to interview more than anyone else? Oh man, I mean, for me, it would start with Jesus, obviously, but he'll be interviewing me one day. I know that, and I hope I pass. I think I will. But I think it would be Lucky Luciano or Frank Costello. Either of those two, as far as the mob world is concerned. If there was one person that I'd really want to follow, who I said was maybe the perfect mobster, it wouldn't be Luciano, although I had a lot of respect for what he accomplished. It would be Frank Costello. They called him the prime minister. He knew how to navigate that life properly. He wasn't into all the violence. He was very capable, don't get me wrong, but he knew it was a last resort. He had great political connections. He was a great business guy. He was really the model that I would like to follow if I was the boss of a family. Of course, I love my father, no question about that. My dad was a very charismatic guy, would have been a great boss, no question about it. But the boss that I would like to emulate, would be Frank Costello. So I'd love to sit down with him, pick his brain, because, he was through a very exciting era in our life. Because I always tell you, the golden years of Mafia in this country, really from the mid-40s right up until the mid-80s when they started with the Racketeering Act and all of that. Those were the golden years of Cosa Nostra in America, and Costello was really at the at the apex of that at one point in time. All right, my friends, we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to take one more taste of this cherry wine. Really good. Look at the color of that. That's a cherry for sure. So, two things. If you want the recipe for the meatballs, go to franzesewine.com. At the same time, get your fruit wines. We're going to have a holiday special. They're going to go fast. They're a limited quantity, limited supply. And I guarantee not only are you going to like them, but your guests are going to like them. You know, with the holidays, we're all about family and friends and bringing new people into the house. That's what it's all about. They're going to love these wines. franzesewine.com. Get them while you can. I'm telling you, they're going to go fast. That's it. Offer you shouldn't refuse. God bless each and every one of you. Enjoy the meatballs while you're enjoying our wine. Salud.